What's going on, everybody, and welcome back. So week 3 of the NFL season is officially upon us, and this Sunday the Jaguars are going to be traveling across the pond to play the Baltimore Ravens at 9:30 a.m. in London. Now, me personally, I love this 9:30 a.m. Eastern Time kickoff just because I'm always waking up in the middle of the week to go to work early, and then usually on the weekends I'm up around like 8 a.m. So this way, football comes at me a little bit quicker. So I am super pumped about this game, but let's go ahead and preview this game.
It's a foot race. Robinson and Browner, and it's Robinson who wins it. Touchdown, Jacksonville. His 14th win. Bortles with top, looking deep for Robinson.
So this is a little precursor before I talk about this matchup. I just want to say that the Jaguars have played in London one game every year for the past like 4 or 5 years, but a lot of people get this perception that the Jaguars are planning to move to London, but this is simply a way that the Jaguars are able to sustain their franchise in Jacksonville since they are a small market team. When they go to London, they get like over 10% of local revenue from that game, and every year they get more and more money from it. So this is just a way that the Jaguars are able to travel to London. They're able to build a fan base over there. You know, I have a lot of people that watch my videos that are Jags fans from over in England. So this is just a game that it's really cool that the Jaguars are able to do this. But you know, huge shout out to all the supporters of the channel who are Jags fans that watch out in England. And I just want to say that if you guys can any chance give me the one of those Jaguar flags to give out at this game, you know, maybe one of you guys want to send me one, or if you know multiple people want to, they can send me the flags, and I could potentially probably do a giveaway if I get at least like 3 or 4 of them in. So you know, if you want to hook me up and give me a flag, and I'll try to give you some in return. But let's go ahead and get into this game. Now, the Jaguars are 1-1 going into this game, and the Ravens are 2-0. And they've done that through a stellar defense. This team already has 10 takeaways, and if you compare that to the 2016 Jaguars, they only got 15 turnovers on the year. So 10 turnovers, they've really been able to cause some havoc in their games. But their matchups have been pretty favorable, I must say. You know, take nothing away from those 10 takeaways, but they played against the Bengals, who look lost right now. You know, they're really trying to find any kind of identity for their team. They're yet to score an offensive touchdown. And then they also played the lowly Browns, who, you know, they remind me a lot of the 2014 Jaguars. They have a lot of young talent. They have a rookie quarterback, but they're just trying to, you know, get it all together, try to learn how to win, and then just keep, you know, they have all kinds of future draft ammo piled up. So you know, they're ready to make some kind of run in the future, but you know, both the teams that the Ravens played weren't necessarily world beaters. And it seems like the Ravens historically, they always have a good defensive line. They always have a good linebacker unit. You know, they've got players like, you know, Terrell Suggs, who's been on the team for years. They got Tyus Bowser. I thought he had the coolest name in the NFL draft, but you know, he's putting on really nicely. And then, you know, also Michael Pierce, he's always been a good player, but you know, they have their key player and run stopping, Brandon Williams, out, so that'll definitely benefit the Jaguars. But you know, linebacker C.J. Mosley, he really locks it down. He's an outstanding player, and you know, it's kind of interesting. This defense has all kinds of Alabama talent. You know, they've got, you know, C.J. Mosley, they have Marlon Humphrey and Tim Williams, so they've really stockpiled on some of Nick Saban's work over there. But I think my favorite and probably I think the best unit on the team is their safety position. They got Eric Weddle over there at free safety. Really just a long-ranging kind of dude who can pretty much cover sideline to sidelines. I think the dude is outstanding. Very underrated player. He doesn't get talked about too much. But they also got Tony Jefferson out of the most recent free agency class. You know, this guy's just a hard home run hitter kind of dude. This really good closing speed when it comes to being able to come in there and make the tackle. So Tony Jefferson is very good, but when you go to the cornerback position, I'm not really too impressed by this spot with Jimmy Smith and Brandon Carr. I think that the Jaguars could, if they're able to establish a run, they could potentially try to take the top off these guys deep, because I feel like they're definitely going to be putting, you know, 8 guys in a box. So they might be getting one-on-one matchups, and this could be a game where Marquise Lee can finally be able to go deep, take the top out the defense, and get a long completion. But when you go to their offense, much like the Texans, it doesn't really impress me too much. Now, one big difference with the Texans and the Ravens is obviously the quarterback situation. Joe Flacco is a Super Bowl winning quarterback. He could be a big difference in this game, but you look around at some of the other skill positions. At running back, they are very, very injured at that spot. Danny Woodhead is on the injured reserve list. I don't think it's season ending, but I think he's able to return. But they also have Terrence West injured. That's going to be pretty big for the Jaguars to hopefully, they lose some playmakers out there. Javorius Allen is probably going to be getting most of the carries this game, but you also go out to wide receiver position. Number 1 receiver, Jeremy Maclin. You also got Mike Wallace and, Rashad Perriman. We'll see what happens there. None of them are necessarily world beaters, but, in their offensive line, their guard, Marshall Yonda, is out, and that could be, their guard. That could potentially be a spot where the Jaguars can exploit with our, great D-line. So when you put together the Ravens team, they're definitely a lot better on defense. Obviously, with those 10 takeaways, they got all kinds of playmakers on that defensive side. But their offense, they've got Joe Flacco, who's a big weapon. But, around that, there's really not much firepower going on the offense. But when it comes to the keys for the Jaguars to win this game, one key that I'm probably going to be saying every preview is to be able to establish the run. Leonard Fournette is the identity of our offense. We're going to rise and fall with him. And with their defensive tackle, Brandon Williams, out, he's their main run-stopping piece, kind of like how Avery Jones is for our team. But we should hopefully be able to exploit that a little bit on the interior. And, hopefully we can get some play action out of this. When I say play action, I mean play action with Leonard Fournette and not Chris Ivory. When Leonard Fournette is on the field, all eyes are going to be on him. That's how teams are going to scout the Jaguars. I say, see Leonard Fournette, make sure this guy doesn't get any yards. So when this is really annoying me how last game we kept running play action with Chris Ivory on first down instead of Leonard Fournette. Leonard Fournette will be able to bring the linebackers down much more than Chris Ivory will. But I really think that if we can establish this run, get some play action going, I really feel like this game we're finally going to be able to get a long over-the-top touchdown kind of pass, just because I'm not too high on their cornerback situation. But another key is we have to limit the penalties. Now, going into, last game, a lot of people put a lot of the blame on Blake Bortles, and a lot of the blame I do put on Blake Bortles. But at the same time, we know what Blake Bortles is. So our whole plan offensively with this team and this defensively is to have a run first physical kind of football team and to play great defense. We have a game plan that really minimizes what Blake Bortles does. But when we keep getting these, last game we kept getting these penalties that were sending us up in first down, first and 20s, then second and 18s. You see Ed Hockley come out there in a medium ass referee jersey calling all kinds of penalties all over the place. We can't, when we beat the Texans, we set ourselves up in a good situation because we put ourselves at like 3rd and 5s and shorters. So it was able to, have Blake Bortles maybe hit a guy on a slant pass or something like that. But this last game, it really killed us because we were on these 3rd and 20s and then we didn't know what the hell to do. So we have to stay out of our own ways and play a lot more discipline and just limit the penalties around the ball. I heard that the Tennessee's starting field position in the second half, their average starting field position was at their own 40-yard line. And a lot of that was due to the fact that Brad Nortman was punting from the 10, 15-yard line, so you're not really able to flip the field on a variable when that happens. But another key of mine is let's win this turnover margin. I feel like we probably have at least one turnover on offense if I'm being realistic, but defense, if they're able to, this D-line is playing against an offensive line that's not nearly as good as the Titans. They don't have nearly as good a tackle play. And I just feel like if our defense is able to recap on Joe Flacco, force some errant throws, maybe get some strip sacks up in here, win that turnover margin, we're going to be able to set our offense up in good, manageable field position and just get a little bit of momentum this game. The Jaguars are currently riding a 2-game winning streak at London, so let's keep this going. One thing that happened in these last couple London games were the Jaguars started off really fast, and then they let the opponents back in the game. It happened in both the Bills game and the Colts game from last year. So I think the coaches really have to stress, once we get up and once we get the lead, let's not give up. Let's keep it going. That was more of a problem with Gus Bradley just because he didn't have his team as disciplined, but we have to make sure to keep the foot on the pedal like we did when we played the Texans. But with that said, that's about all I got. Shout out to all my UK fans, Jaguar fans out there. Have an awesome time at the game. If you can, that'd be awesome if you can send me one of those flags so I could have one for myself and maybe potentially do a giveaway for other fans around the United States or wherever to be able to get their opportunity to get their hands on one of these. But with all that said, this is UCF Jaguar with GenJag.com, and I'm out.
Bye, Felicia.